In this video, we are going to discuss about organization of a NEXBTL project. So, Petri, could you please tell what kind of a form of organizing or organization the NEXBTL project takes? And you can, of course, tell, for example, examples about how Singapore was organized or how Rotterdam was organized. Please, however you would like to illustrate the organizing of such a project.
Yeah, thank you. So when we were looking at this organization, and I may be reflecting a little bit on Singapore organization, that was a location where we did not have previous experience in building anything in this scale, so that was clear that we needed to have a partner. And when we were discussing that what is going to be the model, how we are going to be deploying this partner, it was also clear that because we are deploying our own technology and we need to be taking the role that is typically taken by a process licensor in this case. So we needed to organize ourselves so that we had a very strong, technically strong owners team that was planned to be working with a partner in partners' offices, and also that organization that is supporting so that all those technical queries that are coming from this partner are timely answered, and we take responsibility that this is the way how it's going to be solved. So that was one part of this organization, and of course when this was the setup, it was impossible to go into the marketplace and ask for somebody to build, for example, on lump sum basis, that please design and build this kind of facility, because no one had previous experience in building this kind of facility. They could not commercially commit themselves to that kind of arrangement, and we were the party that was the only one knowing in technical details that what are those requirements. So that meant that we really needed to find a partner that is willing to work in this kind of very transparent, close relationship where we are jointly doing the detailed design and jointly solving all the issues. And that led to this discussion that we decided to have a EPCM type of agreement where engineering, procurement and construction management services were contracted from our partner, that is in this case TechnipFMC, that was in that kind of role.
And TechnipFMC is a very large global engineering office. Am I right that is even bigger organization than Neste perhaps?
Significantly bigger. If you are looking at headcount, TechnipFMC is a publicly listed company, I think both in US and in Paris, and they have several tens of thousands of employees serving various industries. So they are one of the major companies that are serving, for example, oil and gas or refining petrochemicals industries.
And they have a lot of power over suppliers because they are buying for several end customers.
That's of course true. They are constantly working with all the vendors. They are constantly working with the construction contractors because they, due to the scale of the operations, they have ongoing projects in many countries. And also in this case, they had previous experience in building projects in Singapore and in Rotterdam that were of interest to us at that time.
And with this EPCM, Neste hired this Technip to work for Neste, but Neste also carried the risk and all cost that incurred from
of course, that kind of model means that you need to be able to find a partner where you have a trusted relationship, because the owner, in this case Neste, would need to be able to carry the risks of the projects. you cannot really commercially obtain somebody to take risks on your behalf. But I think that was one thing that was a starting point that was known already. When we are deploying our own technology, nobody else has previous experience on that, we have to be ready for making that kind of commitment. And that was, of course, one part of the risk analysis that we made, that is this technology mature enough for us to make this kind of decision.
And when you carried all the risk and you were responsible of the project and its development, did this allow you the flexibility? I mean, did you do a lot of favorable changes during the project because you had the kind of a risk, you had the opportunities, you had the money, and in this way you might have had a flexibility to do even a better project or better end product of the project on the run?
This is of course always the tension when you are building a major project, that what kind of changes you allow to be made, because changes of course tend to be something that may have unpredictable impact on the project cost and schedule. So therefore I would say that we made all the mandatory improvements, but there are many things that we started to know already at that time, but we did not incorporate those changes into the technology initially. But of course, over this period of almost 10 years now, we have been making those improvements afterwards into those facilities.
Is there still something that you would like to tell about your selection of suppliers? I mean that when you had the partner Technip there to run and manage the project with you, so how did this partner affect, or what kind of suppliers were selected for the job?
It is a kind of combination of knowledge. We of course had experience of certain vendors, certain contractors that we had been working with previously. So there were some preferences that we had, that we knew that some things are working, but especially when we were going into construction activities. Construction is always very local part of the project, and the construction companies tend to be local companies. And as we had no prior experience there, we benefited a lot, of course, from this partner as being there and able to utilize their previous experience. What are those credible and capable companies for the construction activities?
And still, as far as organizing the project is concerned, you mentioned in another video that there was this technology office. So you had a very strong home base, this technology office, several specialized individuals on your own organization that were really making choices about technology, or even giving permissions for this project to deviate in certain technical designs, or am I correct?
That's true, because we were building the first facilities in Porvoo, and when we started to operate them, we of course gained experience that some of those initial choices that we made in Porvoo were not perhaps perfect, and we should make different choices. And as we were having a dedicated team that was already developing a project for other locations, they were not following, they were not aware of all those things and all that knowledge that was simultaneously accumulating. So therefore, to be able to get that knowledge into use, we had to have this kind of connection.
And perhaps technology office people did also research. Am I right? Because someone must make research if you really own the technology, or?
Of course, research activity is part of the activities that we are doing all the time, but I would say that during the project that impact was limited. but if we are looking at what has been the further development of the business and further expansion of the business and how we have been able to move to new feedstocks and so on, that has been the result of a lot of R&D activities, a lot of testing, a lot of other things that have been conducted.
Thank you very much, Petri, for this interview about organization and organizing of a NEXBTL project.
Thank you.